everyone.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Susie.
And you're listening to the Gilmore Gab. So this is episode 1 of the Gilmore Gab. We're going to talk about Rory.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start or do you want me to?
Okay, here's the thing. Rory in the beginning, I have no issue with. Well, mostly. I have issues with the parenting style of Lorelai Gilmore in general, but we will talk about that more with Lorelai. But in general, like, I have no issue against her. She's a teenage kid. She's a pretty mild-mannered teenage kid in the beginning. But as the show goes on, I think that she is not a realistic character if we're looking at the world in general. For example, and this is stuff we'll dive into more, when Mitchum tells her she doesn't have it, her next step is to go and steal a yacht with Logan. Having accomplished a college degree in writing, so I kind of know what she was in school for. All I got through my entire college career was people telling me I wasn't good enough, that my voice was too unique, that I needed to change, I needed to mold to what everyone else wanted me to do. And I did not steal a single yacht over the course of the 12 years it took me to get a bachelor's degree.
Well, and that's okay. So that's funny that you say that because I'm not there, but I have the very vivid memory of that from watching it multiple times over the years. But in my rewatch, I'm not quite there yet. But I made a note of that because I think it's like a running theme for Rory. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when she gets into Chilton and her first paper's like a D and she like has a whole freak out about not being good enough, and Headmaster Charleston kind of goes, maybe this is too much for you. And she's like out to prove that's not the case. But inwardly, like she's internalizing, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And then seems to kind of gung-ho herself into proving them wrong. And then she becomes the valedictorian, right? Mm-hmm. But then the same thing happens at Yale. She's set herself up to think she's not good enough. Mm-hmm. When she was prepping for her college essays before she gets into Yale. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't have an original thought. I was going to write about Hillary Clinton like every other girl does. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you really don't have an original thought. Yeah. You kind of get manipulated by everybody else's thoughts around you. And so she was going to give up and she panicked and she freaked out and then she was fine and she got into 3 colleges and she goes to Yale and then she's in Asher Fleming's class. Mm-hmm. And she is convinced that her paper sucks and she gets an A on it and she doesn't think she deserves the A. Yeah. Because Asher's dating Paris or knows her grandpa or whatever. And it's just like, she's just in her head that she has to be a certain way. Yeah. The pretentious books, the taking the 5 classes her freshman year at Yale. Again, counselor and a teacher tell her, you're doing too much. It might be too much for you. It can't be too much for me. I'm Rory Gilmore.
Do you not know that I am a Gilmore?
Like and again, this goes to when we talk about Lorelai, like where did that expectation come? Yeah. The need for the pretentious books, the desire to go to Harvard or an Ivy League school, the desire to go to Chilton and be the valedictorian, the straight A, the perfect student. Like, where is that coming from? Yeah. And it sets her up for these failures. Yeah. And this inability to have an original thought and be confident in herself. Like, my first impression of her when I first started watching it was I was young, like, fresh out of high school when I first watched Gilmore Girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this idea of the college life and the Ivy League. And I love to read books too, just like Rory, but I'm a fantasy reader. I am not a pretentious book reader. And, you know, but I loved her and I loved her pea coats and her Chilton uniform. And I was like, I love Rory. I want to be Rory. Now I'm 30 something. And I'm like, that's a terrible person to want to be. I can't imagine lacking that confidence.
It's sad when you're like, I actually think I relate the most to her dad at this point. Because I don't relate to Emily, because Emily's a lot. But like her dad loves to read and he like goes to work and he's like very precise.
You mean Richard?
Yeah.
Because you're saying his dad, but we're talking, or her dad. We're talking about Rory. And I was like, not Christopher.
No.
Nobody relates to Christopher.
Christopher is a whole episode of himself coming up later. No, but like Richard Gilmore, like.
Yes.
And I love Richard Gilmore.
Love Richard Gilmore.
To my dying day.
Fantastic.
He may be my favorite character of that show.
I mean, and we'll talk about this more. Obviously, we're going to say that a lot this episode. We're trying to stay on track on topic, which is Rory. But I mean, I can't relate to her. I used to love it. I loved the idea of her. I loved the coffee drinking and the cutesy relationship with her mom. And I think it's when you're 18, fresh out of high school, doing not great in your life and you're like, Gilmore Girls is a comfort show for me.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, I love this vibe. And now I look at it and I'm like, Roy, you're stupid. You're
What are you
so
doing?
stupid. And like, not only does she put this pressure on herself with no self-esteem for it, she puts this pressure on everyone else. Dean, you have to go to college. Dean, I can't believe you got married. And oh, now you're dropping out of college. You're never going to go back. What's Lindsay doing? Which is a whole other conversation.
Yep.
But like pushing him to college, pushing Jess to college. Jess was never going to go to college.
No.
But everybody has to go to college. And I love that Dean kind of calls her out on it later. Like when he's married to Lindsay and he's, you know, stopped going to college because they're trying to make money because they want a townhouse or whatever. And Rory's like, you can't just not go to school. And he goes, it's kind of like how we say it's 2025. Can we like realize the truth? But in that time, he was like, you don't guarantee yourself a job just because you go to a 4-year college anymore. And that is still the truth. But it was the truth then too. And like knowing a trade is almost far more valuable now than it is to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah. Especially like he was going into construction, like that he was building a lot of stuff and he was good at it. Like that, like I know people that like didn't go to college, but like now they run companies that they started as like a builder, like just a laborer for a construction company, and now they are running that company.
Well, and honestly, the way the world's going, we need more trades.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a 4-year Yale student to do something for me. I love that my husband is a Ford certified mechanic because he can fix my car and I pay very little for it, you know.
Your philosophy degree is not going to fix my plumbing.
Yeah. And that's what baffles me about Rory is like it's almost as if, and I don't know if this was intentional because it was written, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, but it's the idea that Rory's supposed to represent this ideal, that American ideal we all used to have of like, if you go to a 4-year college and you get good grades, you're going to be set for life because Emily and Richard Gilmore were.
Yeah.
And Lorelai didn't go to college. I mean, she ended up going to business school, but like, and look at her life. And clearly the 4-year college is the path to wealth and riches and joy and happiness, which as we look into Emily and Richard later on, you're going to see that's not the case, but
But also, I don't think I realized until this rewatch that I just did for the podcast. Like I don't think I realized that Richard was in insurance. That that was his career, was in insurance.
Yeah.
Like,
because you don't think about insurance being like a wealthy career either. Like that's what I sat there with this rewatch. Like I remember it being in insurance, but I'm like, how is he making all this money off of it? And how is it such a big deal that it results in people suing people and ruining reputations? And, but
I mean, they're blue bloods, so they already had money. He just added more money to the pile because like his mom rented a house to Corn. For heaven's sake.
This is true. But at the same time, though, that doesn't explain the Rory thing because Rory doesn't get integrated into that life until she's 16.
Yeah.
But she sure does embrace it real easy.
She does. She does.
And at moments, I'm like, good for you, like stepping up and being responsible. But like at the same time, I feel like she's taking everything her mother's established with her and the relationship they have and throwing it under the bus. She's wanting her mom to have her dream, which is so great because Lorelai has wanted that Dragonfly Inn or like her own inn for an incredibly long time. And then when she realizes she's going to have to use her money to pay for Rory to go to Yale, Rory's like not having it, which it should never be a child's responsibility to take care of their parent when they're, you know, when you're only 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
But then Rory just up and goes like, I know grandparents will pay for me to go to Yale, so I'm just going to ask them. And they did, and that's great. But then she like throws it back in their face later.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. And like she knew what she was getting into with the Gilmores too, though. Like, like it's a little frustrating when she does throw it back in their face later. Because I'm like, ma'am, you knew exactly what you were signing up for. None of this is a surprise.
She is the most flip-floppy character.
Yeah,
because out of the whole series, Lorelai's pretty consistent in I'm not a big fan of my parents. I don't want to take their money. I don't want to deal with the Gilmore of it all. But if I don't have a choice, I'll go there. Whereas Rory's 1 minute, she's like, I love my grandparents. The next minute, I hate my grandparents. The next minute, I love them. I hate, like, girl, you got to make a choice.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing this to people.
Yeah.
Can we talk about when Rory learned to cook? Because at one point she's like, I'm going to cook food for you, Mom. And this is before she goes to Yale. And then now she comes out of Yale and she can make mac and cheese.
Yeah.
When did they ever cook food for themselves?
And they even talk about how they don't cook food. Because like when Lorelai is like pinching pennies to get the inn, and she has bread and she has cheese and she
Yes.
has a tomato and Lorelai's trying to not let her know that like
Things are
she's
tight.
uh-huh. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you have bread. Like we never have bread. We never have ingredients here."
But there's that, I don't even remember what episode it was. I just made the note, which it had to have been, oh, it was when she was dating Dean.
Uh-huh.
And she did the little, after he had a whole thing about how it would be kind of nice to have a 50s
Oh
housewife.
yeah.
And then Rory, first of all, throws a hissy fit about it,
Uh-huh.
then completely disregards her own boundaries and belief systems to make Dean happy
Yeah.
because Rory has no original thoughts or mind of her own. She does
True.
whatever. She's a people pleaser,
Yeah.
like a chronic people pleaser.
Yeah.
But then she cooks him a whole meal.
Mm-hmm.
Where did she learn to cook?
True.
Because Lorelai doesn't cook.
It's true. She could have learned things from Suki, but not to that extent. And also, what 16-year-old is making a 50s housewife dinner for
Right?
anyone? Like, I did cook growing up. I learned to cook when I was very young. I got thrown into like the rotation of like I had a night every week that I was in charge of dinner from the time I was probably 9, which looking back, I'm like, I wouldn't trust a 9-year-old to be in charge of dinner. But like my mom taught me how to do simple things. So like it was like mac and cheese, but we made mac and cheese from scratch. And so like from when I was 9 until I left my parents' house, I was in charge of making dinner. So like at 16, I could have cooked you a pretty good meal, but I wouldn't have been able to cook that full of a meal.
See, and I grew up in a house where, because like my mom was born without a sense of smell.
Mhm.
So it's really hard for her to eat a lot of things. And she's,
Uh-huh.
so she's very picky. She can't eat a lot of things. So a lot of our stuff was like boxed hamburger helper and plain chicken and canned corn and carrots and stuff. And
Mhm.
so I knew how to make those basic things. I could follow the instructions on a box. When I moved out of my parents' house, I had a friend whose mom cooked everything from scratch. And that was the first time I learned that butter and margarine are not the same thing. And ever since then, she showed me some things. And that's when I was like, oh, you can look up actual recipes and cook from scratch.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and I learned that yeast is not as scary as it seems. And now I make my own pizza dough, my own
Mhm.
French bread, and pretty much everything we cook is from scratch.
Yeah.
Like I might get some frozen veggies that I need, but like
Mhm.
I have not bought a box thing unless it's mac and cheese for my kid.
Mhm. Yeah, which also this is funny about the Gilmores in general because like there's an episode where they're doing a marathon show watching something, which they do
Mhm.
all the time. But like Lorelai wanted mashed potatoes, but then she's like, I have to boil water and then I have to add things to it and then I have to stir things and then like I have to like put that in a bowl. Like who has time for this? And I'm like, it is instant mashed potatoes, my dude.
Right.
And Rory's even like, you're the one that wanted them, and they're instant. And Lorelai's like, too many steps. And I'm like, ma'am, there's 3 steps to making instant mashed potatoes.
Yeah, but she also grew up with, when it comes to Lorelai, like her growing up lifestyle and contributed to that too. But this is about Rory.
Yes.
I had a runaway counter for Rory, but then I forgot to add all the counters. Every time she runs away from something, like when her and her mom get in that big fight when she's like still in Chilton and she runs away to grandma's house.
Yeah.
And when she runs away from Jess and she runs away from Dean and she runs away from anything uncomfortable and then she runs away from Yale.
True. Why did you drop out of Yale? Can't wait for you to get to that episode.
Again, I know what episode it is. Let's keep in mind that we have rewatched this having watched Gilmore Girls multiple times over our lives, or at least
true. I love that I could just say the one line though, and you knew exactly what it was.
And it's an audio podcast, so they can't see the very large and painful eye roll.
I am Team Jess forever. I will die on that hill.
And I am Team Logan, but nobody here is Team Dean.
No, nobody's Team Dean.
But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about Rory.
That's a different episode.
I mean, if we are going to talk about Dean, let's talk about how, again, Rory disregards all boundaries, all of her life experience, all of the knowledge she has been given to be the other woman.
Yeah.
And she tries to justify it. Well, isn't it great that it's with someone who loves me and cares about me? He's married. Oh, it's not working out. Don't do this. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
Like the minute she hit the Yale years, I've just been sitting there just cringing, waiting for that because I hate it. And it sucks because it's a great episode for Lorelai.
Yes.
But then they had to do that and Rory ruined it. Rory's a ruiner.
Made me so mad. So mad. So mad. Because like we have been like pining for the Luke and Lorelai to get together from the beginning of the show, and it finally happened.
And Rory ruins it.
With Dean.
Well, and when Lorelai comes in and realizes what has happened. Rory's first response is, I'm sorry I didn't tell you about it first. I know we talked about me letting you know when I was thinking about my first time. And Lorelai's like, I could care less about that.
Yeah.
He cheated on his wife with you.
Yeah.
Which speaks volumes of Dean, and we'll get to that.
Uh-huh.
But like, of all the things you would have ever thought of Rory, that would not be one that would ever make my list before seeing this show, like before seeing that episode.
Yes.
But she just, I get how first loves are. I've had a first love,
Mhm.
but I could not imagine. And that's what, like 2-3 years later?
Yeah.
And like, I can't imagine. And Dean, and he justified it to her because he knew exactly what to say.
Yeah.
To get her to agree to that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Ugh, Dean.
Ugh,
Dean. Rory. They're the worst.
They're the worst.
Can't handle them. But
yeah. Well, and again, let's just go back to, I just reminded of another example of how Rory is not good enough for anything, and it tears her apart because when her first time doing Yale Daily News, and Doyle's like, it's okay. And she's like, let me redo it. And he's like, you're just not good enough. And then she redoes it and eviscerates that poor ballerina, as Emily says.
Yeah.
And then she feels bad about it because somebody didn't like her. As Dean said, heaven forbid somebody doesn't like you, Rory. He had some good lines.
He did.
That were anti-Rory. I will give Dean that much credit.
It's true.
Now that I don't like Rory.
Yeah, it's well, and like it's also interesting to me going back to like also her pretentious reading. I am a person that has loved classic literature for many, many years. And I read it starting in high school is when I started reading it. And it was hard for me to understand then. So like the fact that she was reading like Tolstoy in junior high, no junior high kid is understanding Tolstoy. I still don't understand Tolstoy, and I have an English degree. Like,
yeah,
that part for me was really unbelievable. That like she was that avid of a reader from such a young age to like have read all these classics. Like,
and I'd like to point out that when we say pretentious reading, like I'm not talking about like people who enjoy classic literature. Like I personally can't get behind it. But if you enjoy it, that's great. It's how pretentious it comes off in the show.
Yes.
And how she's like, Dean, you should read this. It's good for you. Or Jess, read this. And Jess can put notes in the margin. So he's on her intellectual level. Like to her, it's not reading because she enjoys it. It's reading because it's a status symbol.
Yeah.
It's an intellectual symbol. And nothing that she does on that like intellect, savant, genius child thing suits the character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Paris Geller, 100% that suits her.
Yeah.
That fits her character. But this just doesn't, like, I see the books and the Harvard attitude and this like whole thing, and it just doesn't reconcile itself with the character that Rory is. And it's weird to me, especially because in what universe is Lorelai Gilmore introducing 4-year-old Rory to these kind of books? Lorelai didn't read those books. All those books probably represent everything she hates.
Yeah.
So where is Rory getting, because we know Christopher wasn't a part of her life.
It's true. He was not. But also like Rory's obsession with Harvard, which we haven't talked about yet, but I feel like goes in with this too. A quick aside, I think it's interesting if you're comparing like Jess and his bookwormness and her bookwormness, because they're about the same, right? He's as thorough a reader as she is, because he like borrows her books and like writes margin notes and everything, but he's not pretentious about it. He actually keeps it to himself.
Yeah, he's not carrying around 2 backpacks full of books.
Right? Or like planning a trip to Europe, backpacking through Europe full of books.
12 books, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Had to get talked down to 6.
E-readers were a thing at that time, my dude, and you had grandparents.
Or the fact that she wanted that giant dictionary.
Yes.
Like, now we're just, like, it feels like it's fake.
Yeah.
But yes, going to Harvard.
Yes. So, like, it's interesting, her obsession with Harvard, because, like, Lorelai says, like, she kind of got her a sweater or something when
she got her a Harvard sweatshirt when she was 3 or 4.
Which we will talk about in the Lorelai episode of this. But, like, it's interesting that Rory clung on to that so much, and, like, that became, like, who she is. She was a Harvard girl, right? To the point that, like, the thought of even considering Yale or any other college or university was an absurd thought. And how dare you? because Rory's going to Harvard.
Well, and it wasn't just Rory thinking that. It was the whole town when she was doing her pro-con list and actually started to lean towards Yale. You know, they go into the diner and Luke's like, what are you talking about? Of course it's Harvard. And Patty's like, you're going to Harvard. Like, they had ingrained this idea so thoroughly that the whole town was like, she's going to Harvard.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, we talk about this on the Lorelai episode, but I think, again, it comes down to Rory being a people pleaser. Her mom gave her that Harvard sweatshirt. That's clearly what her mom wants. I don't think throughout the entire series, and even into A Year in the Life, I don't think Rory does a dang thing that she actually wants to do. She goes on spring break with Paris because Paris tells her to, and because it's cold, which, like, I can feel that right now because it is freezing here in February in Idaho, but like...
Snowed today. It was the worst.
No, it's still snowing.
Oh, I hate it.
I know. And it's like the wet, like flurries. It's stupid. Anyway, you know, she goes to a 4-year Ivy college because that's what she's wanted to do, but that's what everyone around her expects her to do. You know, girl has never worked a job. I just realized her first job is being the lunch card swiper in Yale. Yeah. Like, you know, she gets the perfect grades because that's what everyone expects of her. She becomes valedictorian because that's what everyone wants. She ran as Paris's vice president for student council at Chilton because that's what Paris wanted. Yep. You know, she gave the speech with Paris even though Paris lost her dang mind.
Oh my gosh.
Like, she did all this stuff that she even vocally said, like, I don't want to have to go spend the summer in Washington. I don't want to be on student council. But Paris wanted her to.
Yeah.
Her mortal enemy.
Yep.
You know, she wanted to go to her prom, but she kept being like, oh, it's okay, Dean, like, please, we'll just go for a few minutes. If it really sucks, we can leave. Like, she never did anything she wanted to do. Her mom dragged her to the dance-a-thon. You know, Lane talked her into getting all that contraband all the time for her. And even though Rory would always start to say no, she would always agree in the end.
It's true. She was a bit of a pushover.
Always. No wonder Dean was able to convince her to have relations with him.
Or, you know, their ongoing, not them, her and Logan's ongoing relations in A Year in the Life.
Yes.
While he's engaged.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised because she had already had an affair with a married man back when she was 19.
That's true.
So nobody is surprised by the cheating, especially because we all know, look, I love Logan, but I know that Logan was a philanderer.
Yes.
Like, that he was the typical playboy rich boy. I think that had Rory done what she was supposed to do,
which we agree on,
he would have stopped.
I think
because
so too.
He genuinely loved her.
I think they would have had a committed relationship.
I 100% agree. But Rory, I think that might have been the first time she did something she wanted to do
for herself. Yeah.
But then she ends up with Paul, who we never see. Oh, we see him. Do we see him
twice?
He's so forgettable. I don't know, the whole thing. And she's so self-centered.
Yes.
Because she asks that guy out to coffee in the laundry room. He says no. Later, she hears he's talking about some crazy girl who turns out to be a real psycho stalker girl.
Yes.
But she immediately assumes they're talking about her. Because how could they not be? She's Rory Gilmore.
That's right.
Ugh.
Bless her heart.
No.
As the Southerners say.
Yeah. I just... And I don't know, because when I first watched Gilmore Girls, it was many years ago, 17 years ago, the first time I watched it. And like I said, I loved Rory. But I was like closer in age to her then.
Yeah.
And I think the in general, everyone's like, oh, shows don't age really well when they were done in like the 90s and the early 2000s. I was like, I think this one ages fair and well enough. I know they had to alter a little bit of something that Paris said because at the time there was something going on in the world, so they changed what she said. And if you watch it really closely, it's like during the debates or whatever for when she's becoming president. If you watch closely, you can see that her mouth does not move with what
she brings up assisted suicide
or something like that,
which at the time was a very hot topic.
Oh, it's huge. But she says she references something political or something going on outside the country, and so they like. You can see her mouth doesn't match up. But anyway, but what was interesting is I think the show itself ages well when you watch it, as far as like when I watched it initially, I really liked Rory and I loved the idea of going to a 4-year college and being in a dorm, and I loved her outfits and the life she lived, because at the time I was 18. Like I binge watched that show the way I had to watch it. Was kind of funny. And then now, like I rewatched it right before A Year in the Life came out. And I remember being like, I am not a huge fan of Rory. but like still kind of be a middle of the road. Like I just enjoyed the show as a comfort show. Year in the Life was the equivalent of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but then
that's gonna be a whole episode in and of itself.
But then rewatching it now as a mother and a wife, I like the things I relate to now are so different. Like I used to think that Emily Gilmore was the worst. Now I'm like, oh, she's the best.
Yeah.
Love Emily.
Yes.
Like,
when you realize you relate and understand where her parents are coming from, that's when you know you've hit true adulthood.
yes.
And I hit it as I watched it this time. I was like, oh crap, I'm a real adult now. I understand Emily Gilmore and her desire to have a relationship with her daughter and granddaughter.
Yeah. And there are moments where, like, in my notes, I'm like, oh, poor Emily, or oh, poor Richard. Never poor Rory.
No,
never poor Rory.
Never.
Also, like, just everything about Rory, her whole personality is just a problem. Because, like, she's defensive about Dean being her kind of guy. Like, everyone's like, oh, Dean's just your kind of guy. And she gets real defensive about it. Because she doesn't want to be seen as a goody two-shoes girl. But then when she's with Jess, all she can think about is how, like, Dean's her type of guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
Jess is just misunderstood.
And despite...
I love him, though. I will die on that hill.
Stay on Rory here. And despite the fact that Rory has absolutely no backbone, she sure does have some terrible posture.
Yes, it's true.
So that one image apparently has been explained away as like the mic pack and the flowy dress and the wind. But in the Yale seasons, now that her hair's shorter, you can kind of see she's hunching a little bit. And I don't know if that's a Alexis thing or if it's just like some people were trying to say it was an affectation of the character, like being kind of shy, that they tend to hunch themselves.
Yeah.
I just think she has bad posture.
It's entirely possible she could have bad posture.
Also, let's talk about the study tree.
Yes.
Because the things that Rory latches onto are just the most ridiculous things that she will go die on a hill for.
It's true.
The study tree.
The study tree.
She paid $20 for that study tree.
I was going to ask, how much did she pay that
I think
guy?
she offered him $10 or $20.
I think it was 20.
And all I could think was, what did I say? I said, what is she going to do in the winter? And also for a girl who loves books and the smell of books so much and the fancy libraries, why is she not studying in the library? What is so wrong with the library that she has to go find a tree?
They have multiple libraries at Yale. I'm pretty sure. I've never been there.
I have never been there.
I was not an Ivy League girl. I was a state university girl myself.
I was an online college girl, so.
You know, as long as you get there in the end.
I mean, I have a master's degree.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't really use it.
It took me 12 years to get a bachelor's degree. I didn't really want to go for a master's after that.
Yeah.
But I got there in the end.
My master's is in education, though, which is different than like, and it, because it was online, it was all self-paced. But
yeah.
What's wild to me too, as people who have attended college.
Yes.
And I did do a local like community tech school for a bit before I had to transfer online because they didn't have the program I wanted. But like Rory's taking 5 classes at Yale her first semester, and that's too much of a load. And I'm like, since when is 5 classes too much?
I mean, 4 is like the standard.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh. So mine was self-paced, so I was just doing whatever.
So like 5, that's like an extra class more than like the average. But like if you don't have a job and all you're doing is school, it really shouldn't be that much more of a workload, especially if you're a valedictorian at a private school and now you're going to an Ivy League. Like that should have set you up for that
Well,
pace.
and it's not like she only had 5 classes at Chilton. Like I think that's where my disconnect's coming from, is in high school we had more than 5 classes a day.
True. But I feel like college classes are a bit more intense.
Yeah. I mean, my husband, when he went to college, like because his was a technical trade school, but the way they did it is that they would focus on one class for 3 weeks. They would start to finish one class, one topic, one subject for 3 weeks. And then the next 3 weeks was another class. And I mean, he still achieved what he needed to achieve at like an associate's level, but it was just 3 weeks of a singular class.
Yeah.
So
see, and I was working while I went to college, so I only took 3 classes at a time, because if I took 4, I would fail one. So I was like, we're just going to do 3, pass all 3, and we'll just take a slower pace.
Yeah, I was working, but I was a nanny, so doing it online with a self-paced was really easy.
Yeah.
Because I could just do it when they napped.
Yeah.
And then I was teaching and trying to do my master's degree, and then I was also pregnant that year, so it was like, I cannot be a first-year teacher trying to do my master's degree and pregnant. So I waited until I was done teaching, and then I was staying at home. And then I did my master's degree because I thought I was going to go back to work. But now, I mean, I technically, I guess, use my degree, just not the way I thought I would.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing, though, from both of us here is that 5 classes should not break you.
Especially when she can drive home to her mommy every weekend.
Uh-huh.
And, she's surrounded by people like Paris Geller, who's like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And she's trying to prove a point and be a people pleaser.
Mhm.
I also feel like she never really, despite the fact she's like, I want to be Christian Amanpour, which, like, could we really see Rory out in the field in the middle of wartime reporting on what's going on?
Yeah, no.
And we see that in the Year in a Life that she ends up just being like an author, which is there's not we as authors, I'm not
Yes,
downplaying authors. We are authors, stan authors, we love them.
Mhm.
But to go from being like, I want to be a foreign correspondent and into politics and all this to,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do. I can't find a job. I'm going to work for my local small town newspaper and write a book.
Yeah.
Like, and that shift was so weird.
It's true. It was very straight, especially 'cause they're like, "Well, we're just gonna close the paper if nobody else wants to write, like, wants to take it over."
And what's the time span between the end of the Gilmore Girls and the start of A Year in Life?
I believe she's 32 in A Year in the Life.
So it's more than 10 years.
Yeah. It's like
And you're
15
telling
years.
me in all of that time, like, you just never figured out where you begged to go to Chilton, indebted your mother to your grandparents and yourself to your grandparents so you could go to Chilton, go to Yale, to do all through it. She's like, I want to be a foreign correspondent. I want to be Christiane Amanpour. And at 32, you're lost?
Well, especially because, like, at the end of the series, she's going to follow Obama, and he has not yet become a presidential candidate. But following actual history, which that show kind of does, he became a president. So why did she not continue down that path? She should have been made as a correspondent. Her path should have been made from that alone. The fact that she was following Obama and then he did become a presidential candidate and then he became the president, if she was still on that track, which she should have been made as a correspondent, a political correspondent, which should have opened any door that she wanted to become a foreign correspondent. But she never did. And all that they talk about is that New Yorker article that she had that was so good.
Yeah, like, what happened? And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's because since Amy Sherman Palladino didn't write the last season, right?
Right.
If, like, a lot of people have said that she's just trying to, like, ignore the last season.
Except that the entire show she wants to be a foreign correspondent.
Exactly. Like, even if that wasn't her goal as a small child, at least high school on.
Uh-huh.
So from high school to the end of Yale, 8 years,
Yeah.
8 to 10 years, all she's wanted to be is Christiane Amanpour,
Uh-huh.
foreign correspondent, involved in politics. She's with Paris one day trying to, like, save the people in Burma.
Uh-huh.
Like, she's very weirdly, because she never talks about politics at all in the show, but she's weirdly political.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, she's like, I wrote for the New Yorker.
They never once mention her being a foreign correspondent or having a desire in A Year in the Life. It does not come up once ever. Not at all, ever.
I wonder, I'm going to pay attention now because you've already finished it.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to get caught up because I move a little slower. I'm getting into essentially going into her second year of Yale where she's going to eventually drop out and whatever.
Mhm.
Like, look, spoilers, but if you haven't seen this show, that's on you.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know we're talking about the entire series all together.
You are spoiled.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay attention because I wonder if because she's a people pleaser who has no confidence or original thoughts, if Mitchum telling her she doesn't have what it takes, that flips that switch to her running away. Even when she goes back, does she actually go back in the same intent and mind frame?
She goes back to the same degree. And she even has a conversation with Mitchum later where she says, "You told me I didn't have it, but, like, haha, look at what I do." And he's like, my gut can be wrong sometimes.
And then it's like, haha, you don't, because here you are,
right?
Flirting with an engaged man, making no progress in your life.
Trying to write a book with that crazy lady played by Alex Kingston. That's in The Year in the Life.
Oh, okay.
Which
I've seen it once or twice. It's not as ingrained as the rest of Gilmore Girls.
Fun fact, I met Alex Kingston at a convention.
Oh, cool.
And it was when they had just announced A Year in the Life. And we met her. We were gushing with her how much we loved her and all the things that we loved her in. I was having her sign an Arrow graphic novel because she was in like 2 episodes of that. And she was like, "Do you guys want to hear a secret?" And we were like, "Yes." And she's like, "I am going to be in Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life, but it hasn't been announced yet, so don't tell anyone, but I'm so excited to tell somebody." And we're like, "Oh my gosh, we were losing our minds. So to see her in that show and be like a completely head case, it was so fun to see her in that one. But like, it's so interesting in talking about Rory that like that is like what she comes to. Cause she's like, I can write this book for this crazy lady that's like keeps changing her mind constantly.
Oh, now I remember what you're talking about. Okay. It took me a hot minute. I'm like, I know what you're talking about. I
I
think
knew
now
you were
I
gonna get it
remember.
at some
I got
point.
there.
I'm like,
I got
if I
there.
talk about
She
this
was
enough.
supposed to be writing a book for
Yes.
someone else.
Yes.
Like her biography or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'm there.
And like so many people had tried before, and then they always ended up in creative differences because I don't think she actually knew what she wanted in a story, and also she was drunk all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Isn't she like a redhead too? Not that that means anything. I'm just like visually trying to remember. Wasn't she like
I mean,
a curly?
her hair's kind of brownish. It's very curly.
I remember the curly. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, it's interesting that like in a year in the life, Rory, like that's what Rory thinks like is going to be her next big thing is writing this, basically ghostwriting this book for somebody else.
So she's just always chasing the next big thing. I wonder then, with that in mind, like this idea of she came from all this wealth and stuff, and then when things didn't work out for her to be just like Richard Gilmore or Emily Gilmore or as successful as her mom, that she's now like chasing whatever's going to get her there faster.
Yeah.
Which feels very Christopher-esque.
Yeah, I mean, she is his daughter.
But also, in between season 7 of Gilmore Girls and A Year in the Life, we lose Edward, Richard Gilmore.
Yes.
So I wonder if maybe there's a shift there.
It's possible.
I mean, we're trying to speculate a whole bunch of nonsense into this just to justify Rory's lack of actual commitment to anything.
Which really, I think that's partly just her character.
Now, I will say, I do love the idea that they wrap everything up with Rory writing the Gilmore Girls book.
Yes.
And I love the thought that maybe the entire show was the book.
Yeah.
I love that. But as an author, like I love that kind of stuff. And again, I don't have a problem with the idea of becoming an author as the choice you want to be. As authors, like I am a big proponent of self-published authors and indie authors. Like I'm never going to shoot down an author unless they really, really suck. But it is really odd for that to be Rory's path, to go from this like political journalistic track and then essentially, because it does kind of feel like she doesn't consider being an author as prestigious as the political stuff. So she's essentially like taking the low road or like lessening. I can't think of the word right now, but you know, she's slumming it.
Yeah.
With authors now.
Yeah. Them authors, man.
And it is just a weird turn for her.
Well, especially because like she takes the paper in the Year in the Life. She takes over the small town paper with like 3 employees that don't do anything.
Makes no sense because it's a digital age.
Right? The one lady is filing the same file the entire year in the life. and Jess rolls into town because TJ and his mom got in a vegetable cult.
Yes.
Anyways, he rolls into town to help get them out of the vegetable cult, which ends up not being a thing because they get kicked out. But he stops into the paper to see her because he heard that she was there, you know, because he was in town. And he's like, I always thought you should write a book. Stalker. Well, no, because it's a small town.
Anyway.
Do not get me started on this. We have a whole episode about him. Anyways, but no, he's like, you know, I always thought you should write a book about you and your mom. And that's when she considers
Guess who never has an original idea and needs
like,
other people to tell her what to do.
It still wasn't her original thought. She needed Jess to show up and tell her to do it.
At least something was consistent with her throughout the whole series.
Other people tell her what to do and then she does it.
Yes. Rory. Rory's an exhausting topic.
It's true. Bless her heart.
Indeed.
We will discuss her more, I'm sure, in other episodes as well.
As we talk about other people tied to her. I guess, okay, so we have to spread a little positivity here, I feel like. Is there anything about Rory that is a positive thing, like a positive note about Rory?
Honestly, okay, even though we said that her book reading was pretentious, I actually love her love of classic literature because I feel like a lot of people think it is stuffy and pretentious, but it was very, I really love that about her because I love classic literature. I tend to focus more on British authors than all of them. But like, it was really nice to see someone in pop culture that enjoyed classic literature.
Well, and again, like I said, I wouldn't say the pretentiousness of it was what she was reading. It was how it was presented.
Yes.
So again, I can't get into it. But everybody, I mean, I know from your love of British classic literature that they
It
are good
just
books.
exudes out of everything in
Yes.
my life.
And
I'm
everybody is
sorry, but
entitled
I'm
to
not
their own
sorry.
interests and tastes. Like that's not
Yeah.
what we're ragging on when it comes to Rory. It's just the pretentious way in which it was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, look at me. I'm so smart. I read these books,"
Yes.
And I've been reading these books since I was a little girl.
It's more I think it's cool that she reads them. I don't think it's cool how she
Yeah,
puts other people down with them.
exactly.
It's more that, like, making them a cool thing is not as common or was not as common in the pop culture era of that time.
No, I agree. I think for me, what I liked about her, as annoying as it was that she could be so naive and like a people pleaser,
Mhm.
she always did like it felt like she was always looking for the good in other
Yes.
people, and she tried to see, like, even with Jess.
Mhm.
Everyone thought he was just a scoundrel and a juvenile delinquent, and she was like, "No, he'll be okay. It'll be okay." Like,
Mhm.
and I think we need more of that. I think we need, maybe not so naively, but to
Yeah.
be able to recognize that people have good in them and just need that opportunity. Like between with her and Jess, even with Tristan, how
Yeah.
she was like trying to like, come on, you're better than that.
Yeah.
She was always nice to Brad, even when
Mhm.
Paris would torture him, and she was friends with Paris.
Yeah.
Like to the point that Paris Geller, who hates everyone and everything, was like, "Rory, you're my best friend."
Uh-huh.
She was able to try and smooth things over between Emily and Lorelai and Richard and Lorelai and Emily and
Mhm.
Richard, and so, and she just always wanted people to be happy.
Yeah. And I think also I really loved her love of her grandparents, especially because, like, at the beginning, she's like, "It's not Easter, it's not Christmas, why are we going over there for dinner?"
Mm-hmm.
And at first, she very much does not wanna go over there for dinner, and I actually really love it's one of the first episodes, it's where Emily convinces Richard to take her golfing.
Yes, I love that
I
so
love that
much.
episode because Richard does not wanna go. The last thing he wants to do is spend time with this teenage girl that he thinks he has nothing in common with, and I love that they golf and they both are like, "This is really weird," but then they go and eat lunch and they realize how much they have in common
Yes.
and how much, like, they truly, like, love the same things,
They're kindred spirits.
and they realize that, and that's when he's like, "This was the best idea ever," and I love that relationship.
Yes, and I love too, like Rory's, like when great grandma dies,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "I feel bad that I'm not sad enough because I just didn't know her," and she dives into the opportunity to learn about her, and then she's like,
Yes.
"Grandpa, if it's too hard for you to give her eulogy, like I can do that for you," and
Uh-huh.
helps him tie his tie, and because
Uh-huh.
that was so sad for Richard, like to see him just so, like, I love Richard.
Yes.
And so like I'm glad, like, and even when Emily, like when he's after he loses his job and he doesn't want to help Rory with her business project at school or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
Emily's like, "You love that little girl and you are not going to let her down and disappoint her. Get your butt over there." Like,
Yes.
and he knows it's true, and
Uh-huh.
Rory brought out the good in a lot of those characters.
Yes.
So despite how much we don't like her, there are good elements.
Yes. And she would I feel like Gilmore Girls without her would not have worked.
Yeah.
Even though, like, she doesn't have an original thought, we still needed Rory Gilmore she's the bridge in so many ways to so
Yes.
many characters.
As young Sheldon Cooper likes to say, "Thank goodness for me, I'm the glue that holds my family together." I feel like that
Yes.
was Rory for a lot of it.
Yes.
Even when she was screwing up, even like Emily and Richard and Lorelai united
Yes.
against Rory when she
Yes.
left Yale, later on. And
Uh-huh.
I think that you saw Emily and Richard really flourish and grow as characters because of Rory's influence.
Yes. And also Rory, because, like, Rory will go and invite her grandparents to things that Lorelai doesn't think they would be interested in, like her
college
graduation. Uh-huh.
and to see Emily and Richard be like, I
Yes.
love it. And then he gives her a graduation present, like always handing them envelopes. I love
Uh-huh.
Richard.
I love Richard too. He is the goat of that show, honestly.
Yes.
But yes, Rory, she drives us crazy, but also you have to still love her because she does do a lot of good for so many people in that show.
Well, and just like for the Town of Stars Hollow, like when she's getting ready to go to Yale and Taylor's making this whole big stink about how she's too busy to be the ice cream queen. And she's like, "Do you remember how much I do for this town?" Like her willingness to participate in town stuff. That was the reason, like, I always wanted to live in like a Stars Hollow
Uh-huh.
because of like all the cutesy little things and just being involved, which is so funny because I am not that person, but like
Uh-huh.
I want to be that person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of inspiring to be like, I love my town so much that I'm going to do all this stuff. And she did sock puppets for the kids when the inn burned down.
Yes.
Like, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here to help.
Uh-huh.
Anytime Lorelai had an emergency or a crisis or something freaking out, Rory was there.
Yes.
And it was very hard when they couldn't connect for a while at Yale, and it was like phone tag for them constantly. And then they both had their little breakdowns. Like, I was like, oh, you need your mommy and your mommy needs you.
Yes.
So there is a lot to not love about Rory Gilmore, but there are redeeming qualities.
Yes.
See, we're not just haters.
No.
We're not just haters. We're just chatty.
And again, you don't have the Gilmore Girls without Rory Gilmore.
You don't, because then it would just be the Gilmore girl.
It's true.
And what fun is that? We don't want to just, although Lorelai's life is quite fascinating.
It's true. And also Emily Gilmore.
That's true.
We do still have Gilmore Girls.
That is true. We do have the Gilmore Girls.
Can you imagine a show with just Emily and Lorelai?
I mean, isn't that essentially what Bunheads kind of comes off as?
Yes.
Because the actress there is
Emily
like
Gilmore.
A Lorelai.
Yes.
And then Emily Gilmore, actress, is there. Oh.
That show is such, like, it's like, I feel like that's like an alternate universe.
Yes.
Like, it's in the same universe, but it's an alternate universe because Emily is a dance teacher and not Emily Gilmore.
Yes. But and same attitude,
Buddhist.
Same, like, vibe.
But she's Buddhist.
That's okay. Emily goes a little wacky after the grandmother dies.
That's true.
I mean, I love that. But that's a story for another time.
Yes.
I think it's good. I think, I don't love Rory, but you can't let go of also like the nostalgia factor of like when I first watched the show and like loved Rory when I was young and naive and didn't know any better.
And when Rory was young and naive and didn't do awful things that make us mad.
Yes. And I think it's going to become, and we can start it with this first episode, a need and a tradition to say, hey, Amy Sherman Palladino, can you come back and make more amazing shows with amazing people, please?
It's true. We would like to see more.
Because I am so mad they canceled Bunheads.
It's true.
I don't care what the networks say or the streaming services. I will watch it.
It's true.
All right. Well, are we done with Rory today?
I think we're done for today with Rory.
Right. Well, then.
We'll be back with more Gilmore Girl Gab.
Yeah, the Gilmore Gab. Next week, we will talk about Lorelai.
Yes,
Lorelai. And then after that, we'll talk about all the boys.
It's true. All the boys.
All the boys we loved,
Paul.
lost, and hated. And Marty.
Oh my gosh, Marty.
Naked guy.
The Gilmore Gab is created and produced by Rachel Llewellyn and Susie Carmichael. Music by Kevin MacLeod. Follow us on Instagram at Gilmore Gab Podcast and sign up for our newsletter on Substack. You can also subscribe to our paid Substack for early access to new episodes and exclusive content. The Gilmore Girls show and characters are the exclusive property of Warner Brothers Entertainment. Warner Brothers Entertainment is not affiliated with, nor does it endorse the Gilmore Gab Podcast.